What's going on, guys? My name is Cole Kakamas, and today I'm going to be talking about ultrawide monitors and whether or not they're worth it for you. For the past 6 months, I've been using the LG 34WK95C as my daily driver, and it's improved my productivity significantly. I'm going to be giving you guys the pros and the cons from my personal experience, so let's get right into it. The first thing to talk about is obviously design. When you look at one of these things, you can see it's just a thing of beauty. My model is 34 inches, but you can get them at 38 or even 49 inches. Now, I think the 34 is a really good middle ground. However, I think I might consider using a 38 in the future. Also, ultrawide monitors have an aspect ratio of 21:9 compared to the standard 16:9 that you'll get on a traditional monitor. Fun fact, movies are actually shot in 21:9, so if you load up a movie in full screen, you're going to be seeing it how it was intended to be seen. This size gives you a ton of screen real estate, allowing you to have a lot of room for multiple tabs being open, and it kind of gives you the experience of a dual monitor setup, but without that bezel down the middle. Learning to code using this monitor has been a really awesome experience because it enables me to have a Udemy course open, my code editor open, and even Notion where I jot down some important notes along the way. But whenever I'm working on my own projects, having room for a Google tab, VS Code, and a live preview is a very efficient way to get my work done. Whenever I'm coming up with content ideas or scripting my next video, I always have a tab open with YouTube or video form podcast. Paired with my noise cancelling headphones, this gives me a really awesome environment to be able to get my work done. Now, the curve on the monitor not only looks amazing, but it gives you better viewing angles and a more immersive experience. But I think it's worth noting that depending on how far you sit from the desk, you may have to tilt your head a little bit. While the size of the monitor does bring great benefits, it's actually a con in and of itself. It does take up a lot of room on the desk, so it may limit you on what you can add to your setup. I know for me personally, I would have liked to add like a 24 or 27 inch monitor on the side, maybe vertically mount it, but the issue is just with the computer and the monitor on the desk, there just isn't enough room. Now, because of all that, the monitor actually does sit pretty close to my face. I'd say around like 14-ish inches, but there hasn't really been any problems in terms of headaches and stuff like that. When it comes to gaming, ultrawide monitors are absolutely insane. It widens your field of view, which gives you a super immersive experience. This actually may be an advantage in certain games because it'll allow you to see enemies that you otherwise wouldn't be able to on a traditional like 16:9 ratio monitor. Now, I'm not saying it's pay to win, but there are some cons that you should consider. This isn't as much of an issue anymore, but there are still a handful of games that don't actually have support for the 21:9 aspect ratio. Luckily, most recent titles in like the last 5-ish years do have the support, so I don't think it's something you really need to worry about. Now, in the games that don't support it, which tend to be more competitive titles like Valorant, there's going to be black bars on the side. This can be a little annoying, but you do get used to it. The same can be said about full screen YouTube videos, but for me personally, I'm never like watching a video on full screen. I'm always having it in a separate tab because I have something on the side. Another negative impact that ultrawide monitors can have on your gaming experience is the refresh rate. They do have gaming variants with like 144Hz panels, but a lot of them are only going to be 60 or 75 Hz like mine. So if you're really into playing like competitive, fast-paced games, I think that this is definitely something that you need to look into. But it is worth noting that because of that extra screen, your graphics card is going to have to push out more pixels, meaning it's going to be working a little harder. Because of this, you are going to need a pretty beefy card. Even my RTX 2070 Super still struggles to get much more than like 60 FPS in the latest AAA titles. But don't worry, if you don't game, this is not an issue at all. My MacBook Pro has an integrated graphics card, and it works completely fine. One of the most important factors in me buying this specific model was the USB-C port because I use my MacBook so much. But unfortunately, I had to sacrifice that refresh rate because there isn't a lot of options out there that have the port and like 144Hz refresh rates. If you use only Mac, this isn't a big deal at all, but if you're like myself and have a Mac and a PC, this is something that you really have to consider. Video editing has got to be one of my favorite use cases of an ultrawide monitor. The screen size gives me a bunch of room to look at the timeline and all the various clips I'm working with. Lastly, one thing that you should think about is the price. On average, ultrawide monitors are pretty expensive. They range from around $300-400 all the way up to $2,000 depending on the size and all the features that you require. As an example, my specific monitor cost me $1,000, and that's with 34 inches, a 1440p screen, 75 Hz, and most importantly, that USB-C cable. With all that said, I hope this video has helped inform you guys a little bit more about ultrawide monitors and the best use cases for them. In my experience, it's helped me to improve my productivity drastically, and it also makes my setup look 10 times better. If you guys enjoyed the video and want to see more tech content from me in the near future, be sure to drop a like and subscribe to the channel. Thank you, and take care, guys.